You remember the ritual. The second the clock started, you wrote down every formula you owned. Earned value, schedule variance, estimate at completion. That board and that ritual belong to a specific era of the profession. Let's go back to that room. If you certified before 2021, your exam lived on a grid. 5 process groups across the top, intersecting with 10 knowledge areas. Inside that grid were 49 distinct processes. Each one required memorizing a specific sequence of inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs. 200 questions, 4 hours. A structure that mirrored a very specific, rigid project lifecycle. Passing that exam was a feat of generation. You memorized that lifecycle into existence. In January 2021, the exam pivoted to 3 domains: people at 42%, process at 50%, and business environment at 8%. The format changed as well: 180 questions and 230 minutes. Half the questions went agile or hybrid overnight, and that small 8% step for business environment was usually the section candidates skimmed the night before. That was the era of the 9 set. Talk to the team member before the sponsor. Update the plan before the panic. Never pick escalate first. That mindset survives, but the terrain around it just retired. On July 9, 2026, the old framework was replaced by the modern one. No overlap, no grace period. This dividing line represents the current environment for everyone seeking the credential today. Because the structural terrain has shifted, legacy experience requires a conceptual update to align with the current map. The modern domain weights have shifted. People is now 33%, process is 41%, business environment has grown to 26%. That growth reflects a redistribution of existing topics, rather than the creation of entirely new ones. Risk, issues, and change management, topics traditionally handled as process questions, moved house. They are now evaluated as elements of business governance and compliance. When evaluating a change request now, it is treated as a high-weight business event rather than administrative paperwork. The underlying blueprint compressed as well. 35 total tasks were merged and reorganized into 26. People went from 14 to 8. Process from 17 to 10. Business environment doubled, 4 to 8. With fewer tasks covering wider areas, the strategy of skipping the fringe sections is no longer a viable path to a passing score. The delivery mix flipped. The exam is now 40% predictive and 60% agile or hybrid. The scenarios focus on the overlap, like a Scrum team delivering within a fixed-price contract, or predictive cost controls applied to adaptive work. The questions look for situational tailoring, evaluating what a specific project needs rather than defaulting to a preferred methodology. 3 tenets now occupy the core of the exam: finance, sustainability, and artificial intelligence. Finance has its own dedicated tasks for spend tracking and forecasting. Sustainability and AI are woven into compliance, risk management, and quality reporting. These aren't isolated topics. They are integrated into the existing process nodes. Candidates are tested on these where they live, inside the risk register, the quality plan, and the project budget. There was a period where PMBOK 7 replaced processes with 12 principles. PMBOK 8 brings the processes back. The old grid melts down and reforms as a modular tool belt of 40 processes. These are now explicitly non-prescriptive. 12 principles became 6. The life cycle returned as 5 areas. 10 knowledge areas became 7 domains. Familiar pillars like communications and procurement are now embedded inside stakeholders, governance, and resources. Success now depends on actively evaluating a range of situational options, rather than simply memorizing rigid prescriptive inputs and outputs. The testing room has its own new parameters: 180 questions, including 10 unscored pre-test items, with 240 minutes and 2 optional breaks. The interface uses scenario case blocks, drag-and-drop matching, and point-and-click graphic questions. The exam provides metrics like the Schedule Performance Index directly on the screen. The task is to evaluate those numbers and decide how to update the steering committee. To see how legacy instincts map to this new landscape, we can look at 5 specific scenarios. 1. An AI risk forecast contradicts your team's estimate. The answer: verify the data, then engage the team. 2. STI is 0.83, CPI is 1.12, and the sponsor wants the date back. The answer: spend the cost headroom to crash the schedule. 3. A carbon cap regulation lands mid-project. This belongs in business environment as a sustainability risk. 4. A Scrum team's discovery breaks a fixed price assumption. You tailor the response using both the contract and the backlog. 5. A change request arrives. On the modern exam, this is a business environment question. If those answers were clear, the core and instincts are still sharp. The value of that experience is knowing exactly where these answers live on the new map. Your certification remains fully valid. Same letters, same standing, and no retest is required. You still maintain it with 60 PDUs every 3 years, and modern topics like AI and sustainability are now the primary way to earn them. Underneath the new structures, the exam still asks the same fundamental question. Given what you know, what does a good project manager do next? The exam changed because the daily reality of the job changed. You are no longer the candidate in the chair. You are the one with the map. Now you can show others how to read it.